Okay, Luke, thank you very much for talking to PCR FM today. Very difficult day. The story broke this morning that you're no longer manager of Peterborough Sports. Must be a difficult day for you.
Yeah, it's first of all, it's a pleasure, and I think that doing interviews through good times and bad times is important because there are both sides to everything, and it's obviously a strange feeling. It's a new emotion for me, for Michael, and a lot of people at the club. But it's important that to be consistent, like I've always said, and to speak and to hopefully give thanks to certain people is important. It's important to me.
Okay, so we'll have a look back over your time at Sports then. Must have been a lot of highs, 2.5 seasons here. What's your best moment from your time here?
Cool, my best moment. There's been some brilliant results. I think, of course, the league position last year was great, but I think individual games, when we look back, especially in the early days when we beat Chester away, I think we turned up about 45 minutes before kick-off. There was an accident on the M6, and my players had been at work all day and struggled to get there. I think we had a few injuries, and we played brilliantly and defended well, and we won 1-0. That got us on the run, if you like, away from home, and that was the first big club that we played against. But there's been loads of little things, beating Hereford away in that second season was important early on. We didn't start great, and we went there. A lad, Sydney Priera, who was nowhere near ready for this level of football, earning hardly any money, didn't expect him to kick a ball, and somehow it come to him. He had to start the game on the left-hand side, and for an hour, 65 minutes, he was great. He struggled, but we got through it, and it was almost that passion of this club shining through, showing, together we are strong, and it just sticks out that Sydney, bless him, he did great. But that team that we had to put out that day, I think that sticks out as an early, real good memory.
And of course, the National League North is full of clubs who are on the way down, if you like, ex-league clubs and that. So that must have been a feeling that you had quite a few times through your time here. The bigger clubs coming in, and you're trying to compete against them, being one of the smaller ones.
Yeah, and it's something you have to get over pretty quickly. Going to grounds that are far bigger than ours, having big attendances. Chester, Hereford, as I mentioned. There's loads out there, and I think early on I recognised that our players were more than capable. It was a case of setting us up in a certain way to complement our strengths. But certainly when an opposition away from home got on a run, or if the crowd got up, it was such a different experience of playing at home, because you had 2,000-3,000 people, and sometimes a lot more than that, and it felt like almost like a cup game when you're playing against a high division side. So some phenomenal moments, just too many to mention. I think the Scunthorpe draw on the second game in our first full season was special. We got it spot on and deserved the point in the end, but some really proud moments in there.
And you must have thought, this is easy. Get a draw against Scunthorpe. You must have thought, this job's going to be easy.
Well, we always say that the easy part was training and match day, like having games. But I think as a manager, I think we learned quickly in that first transfer market that was the tough time. Trying to do deals, trying to do the right deals for the right money, the right personnel, players who wanted to play for the club, not just for the paycheck, and they had to live within a certain vicinity to make training and really be hungry for it. And you can rush that, and I think that any player that we got wrong, it was just due to rushing it and not making that right decision and taking our time, because people panic, and you think you're going to miss out on somebody, but you have to take your time, because we could never afford to get many wrong. If we got too many wrong, it would be a disaster. And we're really proud of like some of the signings we made, because a lot of them weren't proven players. Some had disastrous seasons the season before, but it was kind of for the right money, and it was always in the belief that we could make them better. And I think there's a lot of cases for that, and that's something that we kind of pride ourselves on.
And I guess if we look at the other end of that spectrum, I guess there've been some hard times as well. I guess today is one of the hardest, but can you think back to some of the times you've really, really had to test yourself?
Yeah, I mean, the hardest time, that people think it's the results or the this and that, but I think the Gateshead game was the hardest by far. We'd lost our friend that morning to suicide, and I think we'd got to the game and Gashi pulled me at about 1 o'clock, and he was someone who came to the games, he supported us and everything we did, even for me as a player. And it was just such a tough day all round, but at the same time I knew that the game had to go on. So I did a lap of the running track at Gateshead and had my cry, and I remember going in the change room and the boys really supporting each other, and we played phenomenal. I know the first 20 minutes was a disaster, and that was, to put things into perspective, that was the hardest day by far, you know. So after that, it was all, you know, results, bad performances. It was almost like this isn't as bad as hard as Gateshead. Gateshead is tops anything that probably happened in my life. So, you know, for everybody, all the staff who knew Dan, that was a tough day.
A manager of a National League North club, I'm guessing that's more than just a manager's role. I'm guessing you got involved in all sorts of things over the time.
Yeah, I mean, I think my statement, I came out with something about the tiger suit, and you know, them sort of things happened. You know, when I started the job and I had a walk round and I up and down the street of Lincoln Road, I wanted to get to know the area, like I've done at all the football clubs I've been at. Weirdly, have a walk around the place, get a feel for it. I think we had some flyers in that first month, or giving away friendly tickets and stuff like that. So I did a walk up Lincoln Road, and I remember going into shops and meeting people and telling them, look, there's a free ticket for this friendly game. And the first one I ever did was out the left, 40, 50 yards away, and they never even knew the ground was there. And it just hit me. I couldn't believe that so many people around never knew that the club existed. You know, they did not know it existed. And you know, I walked all the way up the street, give hundreds of flyers out to kids, to people, thinking, right, this will get, and a lot of them had never heard of it, and of course, probably never came. And that was a real eye-opener for the challenge ahead, because the attendances, I was always asking, you know, how many people came today, how many home fans, how many away fans. It was something that I was more invested in as the time went on. And of course, yeah, the tiger suit, sometimes, you know, sometimes I went in the tiger suit because there was no one else there to do it. And I know how that sounds. I know it sounds unprofessional, especially on match day. But it was my way, I think, of showing the players who saw, or the staff, because a lot of the time they wouldn't know I was in the tiger suit at 1 o'clock and on Lincoln Road waving at people. But if I could do that, then obviously my injured players sometimes had to do it. And it was my way of saying, look, if there's no one to do it, you do it yourself. That's how I've been brought up, and I've been at clubs where, you know, no job is too small, and I thought I'll continue that. And they were eye-opening moments for other people, but for me it wasn't that strange, if that makes sense. So yeah, I've done some crazy things and you know, stuff that I'm proud of like that, because it was all in good hope that the club would, you know, gather speed and move on and make sure those jobs were done.
So let's talk about those fans a little bit then. There are not many of them at the club, but there are very passionate fans, as there are at all clubs. Lots of love for you on social media this morning when the story broke. What have you got to say to the fans of Peterborough Sports?
Well, they've been great. I mean, it's such an amazing club. It isn't perfect. It isn't shiny bells, whistles and great history, you know, but that group of fans that we have is special because they don't know it. They think they're old, past it, but they're like brand new. And the club is kind of brand new if you relate it to some of these clubs, 120, Hereford, Chesters I've just mentioned, who've had this history and this fan base, but it's strange because you get to know individuals, and that's great because you can speak to them and you can have that relationship. You can have a drink in the bar after. I've never had that before, but it's been really cool because when you go away from home and you're at these stadiums and you get a result, and I can count how many fans there are, and I usually recognise every one of them. It's even more giant killing, and that feeling of like doing that and knowing you're all from Peterborough, knowing that all those fans, apart from the parents, some of them, but they're all from the same city, that have kind of like been in this city where it might have lost a bit of identity, it might have lost a bit of positivity over the years, and I've lived away and all I get is grief is, you're from where? Like, what's the, but we go to these places, these big cities and these bigger clubs, and we get results, and there's nothing better than giant killing and kind of be as one. And even if it's not a lot of people, it's, a lot of special people, and that's the magic of it.
And talk about that city and how important it is to you. How important was it to manage a team from that city?
Really important. I mean, I didn't plan this at all, Nigel. I didn't plan to be a manager. I didn't plan to finish and go into this. But I always wanted to do something for Peterborough, for this city, because I left at 17, I came back at 37. I started YDP, which does a lot of great stuff in the schools, and that was 12 years ago. And that does a lot. That fills a gap. But then this was something different. And when I got the opportunity, I was like, this is what I've wanted. Another club at a great level, and let's go and enjoy it. Let's attack it. And it's not so much do those people proud, but kind of, I spoke to the players a lot about this. Having an identity doesn't come on day one, but if you're a team over time, you create your own identity. So if you're hard, you're tough, you're silky, you play good football, whatever it is, and that comes from a personality. And I think over time, me and Gashi got a personality and an identity into this club. Never say die attitude, of course, is one that we had, and never give up. But we kind of had that solid core that we just kept building on. And, that's something that I'm, of course, really proud of.
Very important then, just that we touch on a couple of individuals, far too many individuals, I'm sure, for you to mention them all. But your co-manager, Gashi, really unlucky to get injured at the weekend, but he's really important in your journey at sports, isn't he?
Of course, he's the one who got me into it, and I think Michael's destined to be a really, really good manager. I know you're thinking, what about yourself? I don't know about myself, but I know that Michael's got the qualities. What we realised is that he wasn't ready for it because he was still a really good player. So he needed me to come in and do that stuff that he couldn't as a player. When he's warming up, when he's training on a Tuesday, Thursday, he needed us guys to help him in that aspect. But obviously he's played a lot more games than we anticipated. Of course, the other end of the pitch in defence, but he's been phenomenal, and that leadership and that willingness to win and to roar and not to be liked all the time. He's brought the best out of people, and shown me when you think you know your friend, but then you see him working in that environment, in that pressurised environment. He's just been class, and I think that whether this is his last season at this level, I don't know, but I think in the future he could be a top manager.
And finally, what about Tim Woodward, owner of the club? He brought you in, and I think you've got some nice words to say about him.
Tim and I have got on from day one. I think we're both a little bit weird in our own sort of way, but it works. And I don't know if my statement's gone out there. That was a true incident when I was literally putting on the Tiger outfit, and I looked out the window thinking, is anyone else here? And he was in the corner doing something to the ground, doing something to the metalwork, and he was covered in sweat and dirt, and his t-shirt and was ripped. And I just thought, this is my guy. This is my guy. It was in that first summer when he was doing all that work, and I thought, I'm putting a Tiger outfit on to, hopefully enhance the club, help just those few kids that are coming to the game, and just that moment I thought, this is my guy, because any job at the club that needed doing, he would do it. And if someone weren't doing it properly or doesn't do it properly, he will take over. Physical work, no problem. And he'd get his hands dirty, and I knew that was my guy. So although he's going to need a lot of help, you know, he's still new to running a football club, I'm sure he's learnt a lot, and I just hope, I always say to him, enjoy it, because you don't realise where you are in a football situation until you're in a much worse situation. So 3 seasons, fantastic. I hope the club goes on and keeps progression, but Tim has been a big part of why I've been here, and everything he's said and put forward, it's happened. Improving the ground, improving this and that, he's put forward. And I've tried to keep the budget back, if anything. It's such a reverse role. He's wanted to spend more and I've wanted to spend less, but it's worked. Believe me, it's worked.
And can't go without asking his final question, Luke. Maybe a bit raw still, and you may not have any plans, but what's the next chapter for Luke Steele?
I don't know. Obviously, I didn't anticipate this. It's not good to have a plan B, I don't think, in football. I think you've got to put all your eggs in the club you're at. This has been the most important club for me for the last 2-3 years, and that's how I've always operated. You know, whatever club I'm at, it doesn't matter how big it is, it's been the most important club, and Peterborough Sports has been that for me. So I have no plan at the moment. Obviously some time away. I'm sure I'll watch plenty of local football and go and watch some ex-clubs that have invited me along, which is great. Might fly to Greece and obviously do some bits there. But yeah, I'll get on with YDP, and you know, I just want to say a massive thank you to everybody. And you know, you don't always see eye to eye with fans and characters and bits and bobs, but it's been amazing. It's been truly amazing. I thank everybody from the bottom of my heart, and I wish the club all the success.
Well, thank you very much for talking to us, Luke. I know it's been difficult, and I'm sure I speak for a lot of sports fans when hopefully in those plans in the future, you're not a stranger down at Pims Park. Thank you, Luke.
Thank you very much.